Thank you, everyone. So I want to start by thanking the organizers for this just incredible event today. I and others that I have seen and talked to today have been overwhelmed with emotion, and unlike 24 hours ago, these emotions have all been positive. So thank you. We are in a hallowed place today on the grounds of Seneca Falls. And I can't help but think about the story about how the first convention got together. And on that day in 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton came to the doors of the Wesleyan Church, and there were people waiting to be let in, similar to the people who are on the thruway this morning at 9 o'clock waiting to get off the exit. And much to her chagrin, and others of the organizers' chagrin, they realized that they had forgotten the key to unlock the door of the Wesleyan Church. And so, being resourceful, they found Elizabeth Cady Stanton's nephew, and they picked him up, and he crawled through a window of the church and came to the door and unlocked it. And I think that that's a good message for all of us about how we will have to be resourceful to let our voices in. In the halls of government and other places where they will not want to let us in, where they will proverbially try to lock us out. But we will not be locked out, just as in 1848 they were not locked out. I also want to talk about what happened here in 1848, because I think it is important for us to try to put ourselves in those women and some men's mindset. They gathered together here in this town for an audacious idea. It was an idea that was unthinkable. At a time when women were not allowed to speak in public, when women were chattel and the property of their father or their husband, women gathered together to demand the vote and to demand equality. They gathered together to dream of a world that was inconceivable to them and to most people on the planet. But that didn't stop them. I say that and juxtapose it with us today. There are many of us today who have gathered here because we're disappointed, because we're surprised, and perhaps even because we are ashamed of what happened on Election Day. We gather together because the world that we thought we knew doesn't exist as we thought it did. They gathered together to dream of a new world. A world where ideas and the power of your thoughts mattered more than your gender. And how is it that these women had such revolutionary and radical thoughts? How is it that they dreamed of something that heretofore was inconceivable? I think we need look no further than the Declaration of Sentiment to see. It is an American idea and American progression. That they took the ideas and the words of our great democracy and they understood them and said that those words applied to them. That they said, when it was written, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That phrase was elastic enough to include women as well. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That it is fundamentally un-American to degrade or marginalize any people, no matter their gender, no matter their race, no matter their religion, no matter where they were born. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That is us. We are the governed, and in order for our government to work, they need our consent. Those women in Seneca Falls realized with those three ideas, those American ideas, they had the ability and power to change the world. And they dreamed of not just a different world, but they worked to achieve that world, to make it real, to make it so real that somebody born of my gender can stand here in front of you as the first woman elected to any of the big 5 cities. And dream they did, and work hard they did, and achieve their goals they did. And as I said, it's an American story, taking a problem and injustice and implying American values and ideas and hard work and ending up on the other side with justice. But as I said to you just a moment ago, we came here because we're disappointed, because the world we thought we had didn't exist. And I'm here to tell you that I also think that we have lost sight of the fact that we have to work hard for our values. That values are meaningless values are meaningless if you don't stand up for them, if you are not counted for them. And I think for far too long, many of us, myself included, have thought that through the natural progression, we would have justice as Americans. And that I was entitled. I mean, after all, I was elected mayor. Of course, good things and justice will happen for all of us. We have forgotten the lesson of Seneca Falls, the lesson of the civil rights movement, the lesson of the women's movement, that nothing happens on its own without hard work, that nothing happens without people of goodwill standing together and being represented and saying, these are my values and I will sacrifice to make them work. Now, I have heard over the past 6 months or so that they have referred to people like me as snowflakes, pejoratively. As the mayor of Syracuse, I am deeply offended that snowflakes could be pejorative. And you know what they're saying. They're saying, oh, you know, they're so delicate, but the time you put a little bit of heat on them and they melt. And I'm telling you, as the mayor of Syracuse, that I'm proud to be a snowflake. And snow, when you put it all together, is a very strong force. Each flake unique, each having its own fingerprint, each one a beauty in its own right, like our humanity, like us as Americans. And that when they're all together, it can be an immovable force, despite my best efforts as mayor of the city of Syracuse. Remember that, as we heard today so eloquently, we're going to get our, I'm in the house of God, butts kicked. But we are going to win this revolution. And we will win this revolution because we will remember that the real heroes of American history are the people who get up and stand up for their values. The real heroes, as Martin Luther King said in his letter from the Birmingham jail, they will be the old and the oppressed and the battered woman, who he said and wrote was symbolized in a 72-year-old woman in the Montgomery, Alabama, who rose up with a sense of dignity and with her people decided not to ride segregated buses, and who responded with an ungrammatical profundity to one who inquired about her weariness. And she said, "My feet is tired, but my soul is rested." My fellow Americans, it is time for our feet to be tired, and it's our time for our souls to be rested. And I look forward to being there with you. Thank you.